Hey, all right, folks, we are live today, and I have some special guests today, Ross and Victoria, who are part of our Power BI consultant program, part of the group of Power BI pros. And our mission is simple to help folks, bring the magic of Power BI to more people in the world, more businesses, because I know there are a lot of businesses struggling with data challenges and such. But today, we're going to get a little bit focused on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has become, actually, it's hard to say, is it my favorite platform? I still love YouTube. I think I love video, I love live, and of course, both platforms have let me do it. But today, I want to focus on LinkedIn and how you can use it to get clients. So that's the lens we're going to look at. What you're going to find today is the lessons that we share, things that we discuss. They're actually going to help you whether you're looking to get a client or get a job. Frankly, the lines between those two have blurred over time. And yeah, and the principles, I think they apply. They're both the same. So Ross and Victoria, let's just start with maybe with a quick intro. So yeah, tell us, Ross, tell us about yourself.
My name's Ross Ruckty. I live in Austin, Texas. I've been here about 14 years, and I have worked as a data analyst. I've worked as a business analyst, but what I really enjoy is working in Power BI. And I've done that for about 5 years now, and I enjoy working with clients, finding out what it is they want to accomplish, and showing them how easy it is to do in Power BI.
Love it. That's great. Awesome, Victoria. Uh, yeah, tell us about yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Victoria. I am a finance analyst with big passion for Power BI. I'm based in Zurich, in Switzerland. My goal is to help finance professionals optimize their reporting, deliver insights, and take strategic decisions based on their data. So my target clients are finance managers, FP&A managers, controllers, senior accountants, and so on. And I mainly offer help with tasks like financial statements preparation, whether consolidated, multi-currency, or budgets, forecasts, variances, and of course the typical accounting reports like AR aging, bank reconciliation, and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, gosh,
And
that's
I've
great.
been I've been really fascinated by Power BI as a BI tool since the COVID pandemic, when I started using it really extensively. And what I really love about it is how versatile it is and how it has kind of all the BI pieces under one hood. It has the ETL part, which is the Power Query. It has the modeling, it has the formula language, and then finally the visualizations. And it allows you to kind of have all your analytics process within one
It
tool.
is.
And that's
It's
why I
pretty
chose to.
incredible. Yep. I think we all in the same camp there. That's incredible. So, well, let me switch gears a bit, and of course, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your specific questions where you're looking for guidance around LinkedIn. But I want to ask you guys, what is it about LinkedIn that you like? And I'll admit that I have had a complicated relationship with any online platform, and I think in this day and age, it's challenging to say how do they fit into our lives, and sometimes they do seem to take away from our life. But over time, I have grown to love and appreciate what technology in general and some of these even online platforms can do for me, can do for us, or what value they bring for me. But yeah, so Ross, what do you like about LinkedIn?
Well, I like LinkedIn because everybody on LinkedIn is, in generally, they're in business, and so they have a business mind. They face a lot of the same struggles that I would face when I'm working on a project or working for a company. So really, my target audience is going to be on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
They're not going to be on Facebook. They're not necessarily going to be on YouTube, but anyone who's in business has a LinkedIn profile. So,
Yeah.
if they're not the person that needs my help, they probably know somebody who does.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. So let's Victoria, what would you say? What do you like about LinkedIn?
I like that it exists because
Oh, did we lose audio from you, Victoria?
sorry, yes,
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
pressed on mute. Yeah, so I like that there is a network like that for working/business purposes, because just using other social media would feel a little bit weird to me. Like, I had a friend who told me a few years ago that I should create an Instagram account and start posting there posts about Power BI, DAX, whatever I know, to get audience, to show my skills, and to find
Yeah.
clients. And I was like, no, not really. Instagram is more like for beautiful pictures. So
Yeah.
wouldn't be the right place to do it.
Actually, I want to challenge that a little bit. So what I'll say is that I think we make these assumptions. I'll use TikTok as an example. And I'll say, yeah, I mean, TikTok is not the place for me. I want to teach others. Yeah, the professional setting that Ross talked about. But there is a huge celebrity. She goes, actually, I'm forgetting her tag name, but she does post videos on, I think it's Excel. I think she's Miss Excel, and she is blown up on TikTok. So I think it's a bit naive. It's a bit one dimensional for us to put these things in a box. What has happened in this day and age that these things have taken a life of their own. So if we have some perceptions that may limit us, right? So TikTok, if somebody thinks that, oh, TikTok is not that platform, it's for kids posting whatever, that's not true. And of course, TikTok, the fastest growing demographic, the last I checked, was I think 35 to 44, something like that, right? So you wouldn't expect that. So we gotta put our biases or preconceived notions, suspend those a little bit. I'll say no, and again, questions are great. Well, be curious. So TikTok, people have done that. And what's happening is that, yeah, people are on these social platform, and yes, they may be on TikTok kind of scrolling past. And when you go on a platform, you have to show up like the citizen. So in TikTok, I don't know if I would do that great, because I'm different. Usually I'm kind of the gung ho type, like, yeah, guys, let's do it. We can do this, that kind of stuff. And so what I saw with Miss Excel was she was just making those videos fun. Yeah, it's right. So she was dancing in the videos and that sort of stuff. So any platform can work, but what's more important is to see if it's an energy match for you. Video is a good energy match for me. So anything video based is good for me. I know that, right? But there's another thing that I need. I need a connection. That's been such a strong element of my life for so long, forever, I would say, but I wasn't aware of it. And of course, you guys are in our Power BI consulting program. I mean, the way it's built, everything around it, in a way, is to support connections. So, of course, Simon Sinek, huge Simon Sinek fan, and he talks about this start with a why, and of course that applies for us in life. Like, what's my mission? What do I bring to this world? But what's interesting is that what you bring to the world, what your gift is to the world, is also what you need. So both things are true for me. It's like anything that I do, learn Power BI, there's a community around it. Power BI consulting program, there's a deep community around it. But that is also what I need. It's like oxygen for me. So YouTube, I didn't get that connection. So yeah, so Ross mentioned like YouTube, and YouTube is great, awesome platform, but that personal connection isn't there. For one, I just hate the handle names. Handle names are like, like uh, user 1257, and it's like, duh, right? So YouTube doesn't have the personal connection. A bit of a side note, I was talking to my son, and he said, oh, YouTube needs a way so that you can send the video to your friends, but within the network. But they don't even have that. So they're totally missing that part, totally missing that part. And not that Google hasn't tried, right? But so YouTube is slightly off for me. Facebook, and again, Ross was saying, is like, man, I mean, Facebook, it's yeah, it's this blend of that. So anyway, coming back to LinkedIn, I do think LinkedIn is an incredible platform, but everybody, I would say to, of course, Victoria and Ross and everybody else as well, is that uh, stay open, stay open. Maybe a different platform could also work. So stay open to that. But yeah,
Okay.
LinkedIn is incredible. Uh,
Well, I
Pretty
think
good platform, and yeah, people are focused on kind of professional work. You get to know them, real identities, not like YouTube username. Yeah, Victoria, you're gonna say something.
I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, no, go ahead.
I thought it has to do with what you want to achieve at the end. Like, I don't want to become an influencer. If I wanted to be a Power BI influencer, then I
Yeah,
think TikTok would be a good place. But I want to be an analyst, and
yeah.
so
Again, I'll challenge that too. And again,
okay.
I've had to learn. So, and maybe that's one of the first things we're gonna talk about on LinkedIn. So even LinkedIn. So when I talk to LinkedIn, I'm so tired of hearing this response. I would talk to somebody about LinkedIn and they say, "Oh yeah, yeah, I know. My bad. I know I should be posting, and yeah, I should be posting every week, maybe every day. Sorry, I haven't been doing that." And I'm like, "Nope, I don't think I want you to do that, right? Unless you want to, right?" So there are LinkedIn influencers. You can be influencer anywhere, and but you can use the platforms in different ways. So I'm not sure about TikTok. I'm not as familiar, but I know for sure that a lot of entrepreneurs, they use Instagram for business, and the magic is in the inbox, and that is true for LinkedIn as well. It's the magic is not in the social posts and stuff. It's in the inbox. It's in the messaging. So yep, you can totally do your own thing. You're like, you know what? I'm not gonna like post every week. Anything. Nah, I'm gonna connect with people. You may still need some posts to kind of bolster your profile. Uh, Great. So of course I have a lot of thoughts kind of around LinkedIn, and yeah, but I want you guys to lead me. What's feels like what's coming up for you around LinkedIn? What do you feel that you need to know?
Well, I do want to post an article, and so I've started writing the article,
Yeah,
trying to get, I've looked at, I've gone to YouTube to find, what's the right length of article,
yeah,
what are the way that you should present it. So I'm trying to do it in such a way that it'll be interesting to whoever sees it. I'm not just trying to put it out just to put it out and,
yeah,
check the box. It's something that'll be interesting, and then, lead people to interact, ask me questions about the experience or
Ooh,
suggest
that's
ways that
interesting.
they would have done it. And but I want it to be right. I don't want to just throw something out. So I'm taking my time and asking people to read it and give their opinions on it. Once I
Yeah,
get that done, then I've discovered the difference between posting an article and then just posting.
yes,
Or and so as soon as I'm ready with the article, I'll publish the article, and then I'll send out the posts saying, "Hey, I just published an article. I think
yeah,
you'd be interested in it." And then hopefully the network within that I'm associated with in LinkedIn, everybody will see that.
great. Is there a question there? Doesn't have to be, but yeah, I mean, what is it
No,
about
I
LinkedIn that
well,
you would like to get out of this session? At the end of the session, yeah, what's the intent for you?
well, what I'm trying to understand is, you know, I guess when, how often should I be posting? I know that was a question that you were just talking about, but I'm
Mhm.
thinking maybe, once every 2 weeks, come up with a really good article that I can post that hopefully will attract customers. People who would say, well, if he went through this experience, that's the experience that I'm going through. Maybe he's already figured out a way to solve it. I'll talk to him about it and see
Yeah,
whether or not he could do the same thing for me.
I
But
like that.
I don't want to. It's kind of
Yeah,
like Victoria was saying. I'm not sure that I'm the an influencer type. I'm much more reserved. I'm not as gregarious as you are.
yeah,
So it would be kind of a balancing act for me.
that's a great point. And we'll come back on the influencer piece. Well, Victoria, what is the question in your mind? What is the intent? What is one thing you would want to get out of this session?
I actually have a question to Ross.
Mhm.
You've mentioned writing articles on LinkedIn. So is there a difference between an article and a normal blog post? Like a post on LinkedIn?
An
Because I have no
article,
idea around these topics.
a post will generally go out only to your network of people that you're connected to on LinkedIn. And it's kind of, it has a very short shelf life. If it doesn't get propagated by the people that you send it to, if they don't forward it to people or they don't interact with it, then the algorithm kind of lets it die a quick death. If you have an article, the article will be out there, it'll be searchable. I think Google will pick it up. But again, you're probably going to be 10 pages down in the search results unless people really interact with that article. But that article kind of lives on and people can always find it. The posts are going to go away and they aren't searchable. So you
Okay.
use the post to kind of do short hits to keep your network involved and aware of you. And then the articles are longer. I think they're usually 2,000 to 3,000 words, or maybe it's 1,300 words. I can't remember. And the posts are, much shorter. That's just kind of like, you're just kind of checking in with somebody, or you saw an article that you want to repost, things like that.
All
But
right.
the article is just really, you're kind of, I don't know if you'd call it a white paper, but it's more involved. You're really thinking about that's more of you're trying to influence people or show yourself as a thought leader or a SME, subject matter expert.
All right. And does it have any, I don't know, criteria how good it should be written? Or, I mean,
No, I wouldn't say
what?
that. It's just you want it to be good enough that people are interested enough to read it and interact with it and maybe reply to it. So in that way, it's kind of the same as a post. You want people to interact with it. You want people to forward it. You want people asking you questions about it. But it's because the post can be searchable. It, if I understand this correctly, I could have it wrong because I'm just delving into it now. That's it's going to take on. It's more permanent than a post is, just in
All
the
right.
way that
So
LinkedIn treats it.
yeah, so hey, we can talk more about posting articles, but Victoria, I want to hear from you. What is your intent? What is a question? What is the intent? However you want to phrase it for this question. What would you
What do
want
I
to know at the
start
end of
with?
it? Okay, got it. Okay,
Because I have no idea about
great. So I think
LinkedIn.
that is a good place to start, and I'll come back and talk about Ross's question as well. How often should I be posting? One every 2 weeks. So I'm gonna just lay out kind of the groundwork. Now the good thing is that you, as part of the Power BI consultant program, you guys have already done that. So folks, if you're listening on LinkedIn live on the recording, then I'm going to mention some elements from the program. Now you can, if you go to the website, learnpowerbi.com/pro, you can find some of the resources in our consultant launchpad. But then, of course, we go beyond that journey. So Victoria and Ross, you both have defined your true goal, which is how you want your life to be. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great. So awesome. That's a great starting point. And I think we got to keep that in mind and then reverse engineer business from that. So, and of course, we talk about the 5 steps. First step is define your niche, have a story around it. Then you focus on trying to get your first client. Then you get your second client. And at that point, that is a good state. That is a good state where people have gotten 2 clients, because what I notice is that there's a big mindset shift at that point. Often at that point, I've heard members come up to me and say, "Hey, Avi, man, this is amazing. I know that I can help people and I can get paid for it." Now, of course, I don't have any doubt about that from the day they joined the program. But again, doesn't matter what I think. What's important is how they think and feel, how they believe. So that is a good point. And from that point, as long as you keep following the principles, as long as you don't just get busy working in your business, becoming an employee for yourself, you work in your business, but also work on your business using the principles of niche story selling that we talk about, it gets easy from there, because all you're doing at that point is you're building a steady stream of clients. But that first step is a bit hard. So niche, I think, Victoria, you spoke quite a bit about finance folks and how you're focusing on them, the challenges you're solving. Ross, you didn't mention that. Do you want to share what your niche is that you're looking to help?
Well, the niche that I'm trying to help is folks who have a website support team, because what you'll see is that customers will try to go to a website and get answers solved without having to pick up the phone.
Give me a specific example, maybe of a company I would know. Like, what are we talking about? Costco.com? Like, I don't know.
Well, like say Dell. Say if you bought a computer from Dell and all of a sudden you got blue screen of death or black screen of death, and you you hop on another computer that's actually working, and you go to the Dell support site and you start looking up in their search box, how do I solve blue screen of death? So you're searching for those articles and you're trying everything that it says in the article, trying to fix it yourself. It's at a certain point, if you haven't been able to figure it out, haven't been able to find the right article, you're going to pick up the phone and then or open a support ticket. And the moment that happens, it costs Dell money, because they have to pay that support agent for the time it takes them to help solve that customer's issue. So the idea is you want to be able to track when that happens, so you can put a dollar value on what it takes to service a customer, and you can get it down to the minute, how much it costs you per minute to have somebody pick up that phone or open a ticket and have someone working on it. Once you know that number, then you can start working, then you can size the problem and determine what kind of resources you want to put to solving that problem. And a lot of it has to do with your website's internal search engine. And
let's not get into the how. I just want to understand like your niche, like So again, I mean, of course, you guys have gone through the program. So niche, people think of it as a demographic. It's not a demographic. It's one person. Can you close your eyes and visualize them? So tell me more about this person. I know you mentioned Dell.com, but is that really that one person? Are they working for, like, Dell.com is obviously a really big company, but who is that one person? When you close your eyes, imagine your ideal client, visualize your ideal client.
Content manager.
Content manager.
Yes.
And but what kind of size of company is it? Is it as big as Dell, or is it something smaller?
No, it could be smaller, especially companies that are just starting out. Say the 100 million, 300 million size. They may start throwing a lot of content, as they're trying to solve issues. but the quality of the
Love it.
content might be there, and the search engine that they're using might not be up to snuff. It
Great.
may not be manageable. So,
Great. So
someone who's facing that type of problem.
hey, this is good. This is the good stuff. That's awesome. And I mean, that is golden. But what I want to ask you is this, and again, I'm just curious. I'm not like, so what I'm curious about is I realize that the content manager is maybe the person who's stuck, who's responsible, who needs to do these things and do them right. But are they the one who's going to hire you? And again, I mean, I'm just curious.
Well, if they want a good handle, because I've worked on Power BI reports for this type of issue, if they want to be able to size the problem and demonstrate to their superiors the issue that they face, then Power BI is a great tool to use for that. Because you can track.
So hold on, let me go back to Victoria's example, right? So sometimes I work with like finance professionals, but who are running kind of the reports and they're busy day to day. But sometimes they don't have the perspective. They're just so busy doing their jobs. It's the manager that I talk to. It's their manager, right? So I know the content manager has the word manager in it, but I'm imagining somebody who's cranking out content. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Are they really a manager, and would they have the perspective? Would they have like, yep, hey, we need to do something to solve it? Or is it going to be their superior? Again, I don't know your niche. So I'm just curious and want to find out. I want to make sure that niche, when you're thinking, it's the person not necessarily with the problem, but the person who's going to hire you. Sometimes they're the same.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not, right? So that's...
Well, I think that different areas of the business can all use Power BI, but you may have the operations manager who is trying to get a handle on what the content on
who do they report to? Who does the content
is being used most?
Who does the content manager report to?
That would fall under the operations group.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so I think this is good. And the companies that are just starting out, and earlier I didn't understand, like, what do you mean starting out? They're like 100 and 300 million, but it makes sense because sometimes you only start thinking about things when you grow to a certain size.
Right.
Yeah, so 100 million, 300 million, they're getting customers, they're getting traffic, and now like, oh shit, how do we support them? Because the phones are off the hook. Nah, let's just give them this FAQ, and it's still not working. They're still stuck.
Right.
Ooh, that's where Ross can help. Man, that is golden. That is beautiful. So Victoria, let me go back to you. And I kind of gave you credit initially. I'm like, hey, Victoria talked about a niche, but did you? Yeah. So let's zero it down. Finance people is like half the population in the world. No, just kidding. But yeah, that's a large population. And again, niche is not demographic. It's that one person that you close your eyes like, oh, I want to help them. I just want to make their life better. So tell me a bit more about this person. What is their role? What is their title? What kind of company are they working for? Let's start there.
Well, let's say if I close my eyes and I imagine that person, it will be probably a controller, as I said, or a finance manager or FP&A manager.
Yeah.
Who is having to deliver financial reports on a regular basis, like every month or every quarter.
Yeah.
Or someone from their team, perhaps, who has to do that for them.
Yeah.
And they are drowning in Excel sheets, like in the Excel hell, as you would call it.
Yeah.
So they have to kind of take all the different Excel sheets together every month.
Hold on. So you said that controller, finance manager, FP&A manager, they are responsible or I don't know, accountable maybe is the right word. So yeah, they're accountable. Like the buck stops with them. If the reports don't go out on time, it's their thing.
Yeah.
But you said maybe it's them or maybe it's their team who's compiling the reports. There is a world of difference in there, right? So yeah, so niching is, again, it's not like, oh, this kind of set, right? So we got to get specific. That one person, I want to define that because I think that's very different. How we're going to talk to them, what their problems are, it's going to change completely. So we got to make a decision. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so are they in Excel or are they not? And again, it's no
Okay.
right or wrong, but we
Mm-hmm.
need to
Mm-hmm.
pick one.
Okay, so the dealing with Excel wouldn't be their problem. It would be the
Okay,
problem
got
of
it. So
their
yeah, so you
employees.
see how it changes, because
Yeah.
when you're like, oh, they're doing it, then you were going down a path which isn't them. They were like, oh yeah,
Okay.
they're in Excel. No, they're not. They're not in Excel hell. Maybe their team is. So if it's that persona, they're not doing the reports, but they still have problems, still have challenges. Tell me about that. What is their frustration? What is not right in their
Um,
world?
well, they might not be directly involved with creating the reports, but they need to deliver insights to their management. So even if they are not the ones putting things together, cleaning up data, writing formulas, they don't even know how it works. But they need to come up with a nice, beautiful presentation every month to their, I don't know, to the next senior level management, and to say, for example, how are we doing on this and that kind of
Okay,
area.
got it.
And
But what is a problem? You know me, niche, one person, one problem. What is a problem? They gotta have some problems. We all do, right? I mean,
that
trust me, right? I mean, if you start asking me, like, I mean, the problems in my life, I'm like, oh my god, how much time do you have, right? No, just kidding. But there's always something. What
well,
is the problem?
they maybe don't have yet such reports in place,
So they
or
don't
maybe there
have.
are
Uh-huh.
time constraints, like it takes the person who prepares all that stuff for them takes too long. Or I actually think a real problem could be indeed that there is too much work, and it
For them.
just no, not for not for themselves, but maybe in the teams that they lead.
Yeah. So their team is overworked. All right. So Victoria,
Yeah.
I'm
I
just gonna
don't
call it
know.
out for everybody's benefit here. So I came from an Excel background. And so choosing a niche is such a lovely thing. And one of the simplest ways is you you help you teach what you needed to learn. Right. So I was an Excel user
Mm-hmm.
and I started using Power BI and got stuck because I was trying to use Power BI like Excel, and then it just doesn't work and it felt so frustrating. And I had to unlearn a lot of Excel. I had to figure out that, oh, this is different. And I had to learn these concepts of like DAX filter context that scared me. Anyway, that was my journey. And I'm like, oh my God, I did it. And it's not as hard as I thought if you do it right, if you understand the core concepts. Now I just want to turn around and teach those Excel users.
Mm-hmm.
So we teach what we needed to learn. We wear that and we're helping that audience. And of course, the same journey with the Power BI consulting program. I was that guy who was making a good income in a good company. I was working at Microsoft, highly paid employee, but I was wondering, is there more to life? Is this what I would really want to do for the rest of my life? Right? So I left that, really struggled, but then found my way, found my path. And now I'm like, oh my God, let me make it easier for you people, right? You don't have to struggle like I did, right? So that is a good path, but there is a challenge there because, in a way, we're trying to look at ourselves, and that can be challenging. You've heard me use the analogy of being inside the wine bottle, looking at, trying to read the label.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you have been around finance, but you don't have this nailed yet. The
No.
one problem, it needs to be sharp, 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 right? Ross, I mean, and again, right? I mean, we can look around and it's not a matter of don't get stuck in comparisonitis. Like, don't use comparison to beat yourself up. Use that as an inspiration for, oh, look what's possible. Like, oh, that's a great example, right? Oh, let me see if I can move towards that clarity. Sometimes if you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there? So just by seeing these examples within a group, it gives us, that's what clarity looks like. Man, Ross is like, oh, it's so point. Is that making sense? Could you feel when Ross was seeing that we could, even though that's not our niche, but we could imagine that person and imagine, and we knew the problems we were having. Did you feel that when Ross was talking, Victoria?
Yes.
Okay. You can listen back again if you need, right? But we need a little bit of that clarity. And I'm just gonna go off on a limb. So if I imagine like a finance manager,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you mentioned time constraints. That can be a challenge. I remember, and this was within Microsoft. Believe it or not, the financial data of February was reviewed and reported in mid-April,
Yeah.
month and a half later.
Mm-hmm.
That is a freaking problem. And if that was happening in Microsoft, I mean, of course, they found Power BI and I helped them and so forth. But, and then they had daily reporting. Oh, hallelujah, not month and a half later. But there are still lots and lots of companies. So maybe when you said time constraints, maybe that's what you meant. And you talked about don't have the reports. I would put it as like they don't have the right reports. Maybe they still have, a lot of companies are still doing PDFs. They're still doing PowerPoint. Oh, why? It's so painful. Anybody who goes through that, it's not only painful, it's not even effective. I've sat through those PowerPoint presentation again back in the Microsoft days, and they would put something up, and then they would see something spiking up as kind of falling down or something, and they'll say, "Ooh, what about that?" And then it was free for all. Everybody was throwing out these anecdotal things like, "Oh, I spoke to this one customer and they said that," and I'm sitting there with the data guy. I'm like, "Guys, what are you doing?" Right? So they don't have the right reports. It needs to be modern, interactive, where they can ask what if.
Yeah.
People
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
people
Thank you.
shouldn't walk out of the meetings with 30 action items. Everybody hated those meetings. The managers hated it, or the people we're presenting to, the senior management. This could be senior management, right? This could be the executive board, or this could
Mm-hmm.
be the business, right? So our finance team obviously caters to the business. So different business groups, didn't matter. They would walk out unhappy because they didn't get the answer, and the finance team walked out with 30 action items. So that didn't work. And then, of course, there's the thing about too much work. Maybe there's steam morale. Doesn't matter what it is, but so again, you go through the niche lessons in there. I think we have like brainstorming, visualization, and then interviewing. I don't know if I call it interviewing. Interviewing, of course, is the gold standard because you want them to validate it, and you don't want to lead them, right? When you do interview people, then you don't say, "Oh, can you confirm that this is your number one problem?" No, you want to be more open ended, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with lawyers, like no leading questions, and then hear what they say, and the most important part, the words that they use. And Ross, of course, this applies to you. This applies to all of us.
Yes.
The words that they use, they are going to be golden. So, have you? Are you familiar with the phrase copywriting? I wasn't in my days. Ross, do you
Yeah,
know that term?
copywriting. You're the one who's writing the
Yeah,
the
kind of
text.
the yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's just text, it's words, they call it copy, and I'm not sure where that term came from, but for me, what I take it to mean is our job is to copy the words of our ideal client. And that's why interviewing is gold standard, because I listen to the words, I pay a lot of attention to the words that they're saying, and then I just use those words. So when I talk to people, I say, "Hey, are you somebody who's maybe been around Power BI for a few years, but still feel like you're on thin ice?" Whoa, man, that hits home. I didn't write that. I just copied it. One of my customers said to me, "It's like, hey, why do you join my course? Right? Why are you looking for help?" It's like, man, right? Why do you want to join my course? Like, oh, Avi, I've been around Power BI for years, but and I still feel like on thin ice. And there are other golden nuggets. I'll refrain, but it's just it's so valuable that the words, if you can get the words. So Victoria, you're gonna have some work there. So I think your question, what do I start with? The more clarity you get in your niche, the better it is. Now, of course, I would warn you that clarity comes from action, putting it out there, and iterating, not just locking yourself in as like, let me make it perfect. Is that part making sense? Of course, you guys have the
Yes,
details on it.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. So don't hesitate. Okay. Okay. Now let's talk about the next step. Like, what's the first step? So I do have your profiles up on the screen, and actually, I've never shared my screen on here. Let me see if I can do that. So, choose the window. Ah, there we go. Okay, let me know if you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So LinkedIn people, the job hunting, my thing was I was like, oh man, I need a new job. And again, job clients is not that different. So the first thing was, oh, I need to work on my resume. And my heart always sank. I hated working on my resume. I think it's a painful exercise. It took me sometimes 3 months, 6 months to update my resume. And then like, I'm finally ready to look for a job. Not to mention that finding a job through resume is not one of the worst. It's the worst way to find a job. Like if you want to make your life hell, if you want to choose the hardest path, that is the path. And I'm not saying that. The number one expert on job hunting, What Color is Your Parachute, Richard Boyle, has had a best-selling book for so many years running. He says that, right? He starts with that. So put that aside. So people come in LinkedIn and so yeah, now the new thing is, oh, I need to update my LinkedIn profile, and becomes this big beast. There are three things you need to update, and we're just going to do a quick check, right? So the three things you need to update is your photo, your tagline, and the background image. That's it. And this is what is called above the fold. For most of that, I mean, there's a peak of about you can see, but it's it's not highlighted. It's like, God, that's such small text, right? So this is above the fold, and of course comes from a newspaper terminology, like the above the fold. Those were the important eye-catching headlines. Everything else is below the fold. They have to scroll. That's less important. I wouldn't care if you didn't do it, right? But you gotta have these three things set. So photo, yeah, you want a nice professional looking photo. You want to close up on your face. Your face should be big enough, because in some cases the photo shows up really small, right? So notice the size, like my photo is showing up here and in your comments and stuff. So yeah, you want it pretty close to your face, and a nice expression, not looking grumpy for sure. And I've seen weird photos. I've seen like people put beach photos there, like they're at a vacation, and I'm like, I don't know. Right? And sometimes people are like, oh, I want them to see me and see my character. God, I don't know. It's just, oops, wrong one. Oh, what is the layout? There we go. Right. So yeah, professional looking. Ross, you've nailed it. Right. No, and by the way, you don't need a professional photographer. Yeah, you can take one at home. Cell phone cameras are great. Neutral background. Yes, the background shouldn't be busy. So Ross, nailed it. Photo, good to go. All right, Victoria, let's look at yours. I think that's good. The background, if it's like neutral, that can be better. And I think it could be a little tighter on your face. Is that making sense? Like, are you getting why I'm saying that?
You mean the background is not just a plain white, but a little bit?
Yes. The background is a little bit busy. I mean, it's okay. I've seen much worse. Trust me. But yeah, if I were to change one thing, that's what I would change. Like the background needs to be neutral. Now you can try doing it in Canva or something. Yeah, a lot of software can let you remove that. That is okay.
I
Or
will
you
just
can
take a new one.
take a new photo. Yeah. Taking a new photo is nice. And the photo needs to be cropped. And that one, it needs to be tighter on your face. And again, I'm saying that because your photo is going to show up in a lot of places, especially when you're responding to comments. So let's go to my profile. And there, the size is a lot smaller than this. The pixels, it's a lot smaller. It's probably the size as this. So if you are zoomed out, then yeah, your face is going to look even smaller. So yeah, the only three things you need to think. One is a photo. Ross, nailed it. You're good to go. Victoria, I mean, it's good. It's good. It's professional looking. Good expression on the face. Nice. A lot of things going for it. Maybe you can tweak it a little bit, right? But it is good. So the next thing, I wonder if I should save the tagline for the last. Actually, this tagline in the background, the background it comes last. Background, yeah. So let's do the tagline. So, so this is the hard part. This is the hard part because you gotta be
I can take it.
true to yourself. You gotta be authentic. So, and hey, by the way, if you don't follow my advice, I'm not gonna be hurt. I'm not gonna take it personally. So I'm reading a book. I keep forgetting the name. Maybe you should talk to someone. It's a book written by a therapist about her experience undergoing therapy herself. Beautiful book. But one thing she says is that some people they are ashamed about not doing something, but because of that, they end therapy, which she says is unfortunate because therapy is the one place where you can just be yourself without any judgment. And I think, folks, as a coach, I hold that space for you. I'm not going to judge you. I mean, you know me. I always say you're always in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing, making the right decisions. You find that balance, and that gives you the most strength to move forward. And you don't find that balance by beating yourself up. It's like, oh, I should have been doing more. I should have been a Power BI expert by now. I should have had a job.
I
Let
should
that
have been
go.
born a Power BI expert.
I know. Yeah. What are you going to stop? Like, yeah. Oh, gosh. My mom should have read me Power BI books while in the womb, right? Come on, guys. Right. So, yeah. So, or yeah, I need to be as good as that guy. So, so I'm not going to judge you, but so somebody said that, hey, Avi, how do I like get big on LinkedIn, big on YouTube and all this stuff? And I'm like, I don't really know the answer to that, but I can tell you my journey has been to become more and more authentic. So, Ross, we talk about niche, and you said you want to help a specific audience. It doesn't show in your tagline. That's all you need to fix. It needs to be in alignment. If you've made it your mission, is that, hey, I mean, these service companies, they've hit 100, 300 million, and now they're having all these struggles supporting these customers. The support cost is going sky high, and they don't know how to deal with it. If they stay stuck here, how are they going to scale? I mean, for one, they're going to get unhappy customers. That's definitely a guaranteed way not to scale up. They're in trouble. I want to help them. You said that. Just
Yeah.
needs to reflect that. That's it. That's it. It just needs to reflect it. That's it. And Victoria, same with you. You're going to have a little bit of homework. So yeah, so this one, so this is the 9 to 5 mindset, right? So again, what I say is that before you leave the 9 to 5, you got to leave the 9 to 5 mindset. The 9 to 5 mindset is a lot about me, right? So, and I know I did that. I was like, oh, and of course, 9 to 5 mindset is really challenging because we think that what we do is our identity. That's how I operated in the world for a long time. It's like, oh, and right. I mean, hey, I'm Avi. I'm a business analyst at Microsoft, and that is not true. That is not true. So let's put that aside. But this isn't about you. And in generally how we operate, it isn't about us. We're here to serve. And I don't care if I'm an expert or not. I don't really care about that. Like I don't care. I know there's a lot of things that I don't know in Power BI. In fact, I know very little. But is there one person, one company out there that I can help? Oh man, then it's my mission to find them and help them. So this is not about us. This is about them. So you want it to be something about that. So Ross's, let's see if we can play with it a little bit. So Ross's would be, oh man, it's throwing a lot of content, superiors, self-solve. And I'm sure Ross is going to do a much better job than I would, but
It's a bet.
yeah, man. I'm rooting for you. But given what he said, so it needs to be something about the problem or something which you help them solve.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
companies with
Something could be simple as increase the
companies-
self-solve rates, reduce your
Yes.
support costs.
correct.
And again, that's just V1. You can iterate. Oh, use ChatGPT. So once you know what you're doing, ChatGPT, GPT, and AI is great, right? So yeah, so you can go to ChatGPT with something specific, like, hey, da da da, this is about me, this is what I'm trying to do, and I love talking to my AI, and that's why Copilot is great because the voice recognition is great. When my kids, I hope they're learning a lesson to start using Copilot and AI. My son is, but they see me all the time. I'm like talking to Copilot and really having conversation. So talk to Copilot, talk to ChatGPT, tell them exactly what it kind of said to me. And speaking is easier because for one, we're much faster, and then we are more fluid. That's the important part. And by the way, if anybody's trying to figure out these things like my niche, what should my tagline read, da da da, what do I do, what is my sales pitch, any of that, a great tip is to call a friend and just talk to them. Right? And of course, we can do that inside our consultant program. We do that on our coaching calls. What you're going to find, Ross, and Victoria, you as well, if Ross would have sat down with like a pen, paper, or laptop and his laptop and try to write some of this down or come up with his own, it, it sometimes is not that great. If Ross were to go back when he was explaining it to me, that was golden. That's sometimes our best stuff because we leave the editor behind. That is one of the biggest challenge when we are coming up with these creative ideas. That as we're writing, we start editing them. Worst thing you can do. And of course, that goes away. When Ross was talking to me, he was just kind of focused on me, just having conversation, right? Yeah. Anyway, coming back to this, ChatGPT, tell ChatGPT kind of what you're doing, and then ask it for like, hey, give me 10 ideas. Go through that, pick and choose which one do I like, da da da, and go with one. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. And Ross, maybe we'll talk about the article, but I'll encourage, don't feel like you have to, like ask a bunch of friends, like, hey, is this good? I'll say
But I want the Nobel.
Oh, you're funny. Yes. Oh man, I'm imagining the thank you speech right now.
I'd like to thank Avi,
Oh god.
the Power BI pros.
Yeah. So I'll say pick one, and what I'll say. So guys, there's two ways of decision making, and I don't understand that why one is 100% emphasized in school and college and especially business schools and stuff, but the other one isn't talked about. So of course, the one approach that is talked about is this logical thing, which which is right, and the other is the energy approach. And I think we can try some of that. So sometimes I look at these and I'll just say, hey, energetically, what feels right to me? And sometimes you can have somebody else read it out aloud to you, and then it'll just, that tuning forks we had back in school. It'll just hit that chord and you'll be like, that's it. But you gotta quiet your logical mind, because the logical mind would be kind of judging and analyzing and all that. If you quiet that, then you say, that's right. So yeah, you can use the energy method and just pick one, and so that's going to be your tagline. But now it's going to be in alignment. It's going to be in alignment with what you said, that hey, this is what I want to do. uh so I'll address the elephant in the room. Is that coming up that, hey, but I don't want to miss out on opportunities? What about somebody who's not in that problem that I'm describing?
Well, that is
coming up?
Not my problem.
Well, that's why I had, I think the way I wrote it was to be a little more general, so that I wouldn't, so that people think, oh, well, but I have a different problem. How can he help me?
Yeah. So we do cover it in the consultant launchpad, but hey, these lessons are not like math. I'm still learning how to niche down, and it's such a joyous journey, right? So these lessons are not like math. They do need to be repeated. And it took me years to even start absorbing the lesson of niche. And I'm definitely still on the journey. So let's talk about it a little bit. A lot of it, you've heard me say it, but again, sometimes we need to hear these lessons again and again. because we may be different, we change, and we hear differently. So a lot of things can happen, right? So what I'm going to say is that yes, it's tempting, but that doesn't help you stand out. That's what the general world is doing, right? So yeah, so the worst thing you can do is to be the most plain vanilla, right? So you're saying, oh, being generic helps because I can target more people. Then you can be totally generic. Hey, need Power BI help? I'm there. But you realize how watered down it is.
Yeah.
It's and you're not memorable. So that's one problem. And the other thing is, so I think in the consultant launchpad, I talk about this example of the highly paid consultants who walk in your door, sell you a solution you don't need for a problem you don't really have. Those are bad, right? We all
Yeah.
agree, and we've all
Yeah.
kind of heard stories or maybe even experienced it ourselves. But then why are we acting that way? Being generic and saying, "Oh, I don't want to turn people away," is trying to solve a problem that you don't have. If the case was that there were people lined up outside my door and I said, "Oh, I don't want to turn them away," they're like, "Yep, be generic. Don't turn them away. Take their money, help them." Great, right? But that's not the problem that most independent consultants have, right? It's the opposite problem. There aren't people lining up outside my door. To solve that problem, you gotta get magnetic. And the first time I heard my coach talk to me about this, oh, you gotta be like a magnet. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna attract people. It's like, no, Avi, you don't get it. A magnet repels as well as attracts. So yeah, it's just a lot more effective if you're a magnet. Now there's this whole exclusion thing. Which story is that? Oh, God, Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer, one of those stories where this kid is painting a fence and he
Yeah.
doesn't want to paint the fence, but he makes it seem attractive and he starts excluding people. It's like, no, I can't, they're like, oh, can I do it? And I'm like, no, you can't. This is very special. When you exclude them, they want it even more. So yeah, man, this is like totally ninja level stuff. So for one, you make yourself really attractive to target audience because they're like, oh shit, he's talking to me, right in the tagline. And by the way, this tagline is absolutely the second thing you want to do because the tagline follows you everywhere, including your comments. Woo! Every time you comment, look at this. I'm going to scroll down. There is my photo, right? There is the tagline. It's really important. So imagine that tagline acting like a magnet throughout your presence on LinkedIn, wherever you comment, wherever you show up, everywhere it's there. So it needs to be in alignment. And oh gosh, where was I going with this? I lost my train of thoughts. But yeah, okay. So tagline is important. This is gonna niggle me for a bit. Should have written it down.
You were saying that you make yourself very attractive to your
yes, the
potential
magnet.
clients.
Yes, yeah, that's right. So it's gonna work on two layers. One is that when your target audience reads it, they go, "Whoa!" Right? It's like, yeah, that's kind of interesting, right? So, and then it repels other people intentionally, but then it's gonna have the second layer of effect where sometimes they're gonna want you just because they're excluded. And I remember hearing, and I've experienced that too. But I have my big messaging is that I help the non-techie, right? That I make tech easy for the non-techie. I help the business user. So I get emails from people saying, "Hey, Avi, I'm actually a techie. Do you think I can join your course?" Right? So if you exclude them, they're more interested. That's just a bonus effect. We're not really going for that, but I just want you to know that that's there. So you're not really excluding yourself either by standing for some. So I think one person asked me, is that what would you do differently if you look back at your career? I was telling them how I was so clueless. And I would say the one thing that I would do is I would stand for something. And that's what this is, man. You got to stand for something, right? So Ross, if he wants to stand for um, uh, helping these companies help their customers self-solve issues, right? So, and of course, I want to stand for I want to go for the underdog. I want to go for the business user. I want to go for that people who count themselves out, who think they're not techie, so they can master Power BI. I'm like, forget about mastering Power BI. I'm going to teach you the 20% core concepts, and you'll be creating incredible reports. So anyway, so yeah, you got to be a magnet. So yeah, so it is scary. It is scary, but it's just more effective. Okay, so we got the first element. Oops, the first element, the photo. The second element, the tagline. The third element, don't overthink it. For one, it shouldn't be the default image. A lot of people have like the default LinkedIn image. That's just silly. Why would you have that? And it should be something slightly aligned with your niche, right? So with your statement, that's it, right? Uh, and it can have words. That's good. Uh, it can just be a photo. That's fine. I don't even know what I have. Let me go back. I do have words. Yeah. I'm not really sure, frankly, if that's even a good example. I personally like just a photo. Let's see if we can pull up some of the other examples.
When you say photo, you mean an image of a person or just?
No, this is about your industry. Oh gosh, Mike had a good one. So he's of course alcohol beverage brand. So imagine just like a drink being poured or something, right? So it makes that connection. I think that is the best photo to do, right? So uh, something which shows for Ross for you that support. Yeah, you'll have to think about that. Like you're trying to focus on the self solve, but maybe it can be like a support help desk. Maybe that still would resonate.
Okay.
Yeah, right. And again, you don't have to nail it. Just even a vague connection between the niche and that, and that's good, right? That would be good. Ooh, that would be good. Yeah. Victoria, for you, it's easier. Something that looks like more financial reportish kind of thing, and yeah, finance guy,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But hey, I wanted to make sure. Are you guys good on time? I probably would have to wrap up in a little bit, but how are you guys doing on time?
I'm fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah, me too.
So fix these three things, and I'll give you a tip. Of course, do not, definitely not use Canva, oh sorry, Chat GPT or Copilot to create those photos. Don't do that. Not for this. Not for this. Those don't look realistic. We want to be real, authentic. That makes sense, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the website that I use, stockadobe.com, free. I'm just incredibly thankful. This is kind of their giving back thing. The quality of photos is just beyond incredible, and they're free. So let's just do. Uh, Yeah, so finance, lots of good examples. Any of these could work. And don't have to be perfect. Even a mild connection is good, right? So a lot of these good. Support help desk, not cartoonish. I like this one, like a real person, something like that. Yeah, maybe a bank of people. But yeah, you can go there. You can check for yourself. You can search for different things. So that's it. So now your profile is ready, and really you don't need to go beyond that. So now when people come to your page, they kind of know, okay, yeah, that's what he's about. When you're commenting, everything is there. All right. So folks, I know we were talking about posting, but let me stop the screen share. All right, we're back. And I was mentioning this earlier that the magic, the money isn't in the posts. In fact, what I would say is that shouldn't be the first step at all. The magic is in the inbox. And of course you've heard about this in the course as well. The the chances of you getting a client through your warm connections is incredibly higher than a cold connection. I think people don't understand how hard it is to to get a cold client. somebody who didn't know you, it's really hard. And yes, you can get lucky, right? I mean, somebody who's like desperate and looking for that, but I don't know, even those things don't turn out great. Like somebody who's desperate, often I've found that yeah, they're in a hurry to hire me, but guess what? They don't end up being good clients. Yeah, they just equally hurried to rush off, you know. So warm connections is the way to go. Now, sometimes people get stuck, or they say that uh, oh, my warm connections aren't in my niche. So sometimes people are stepping into a new niche. Mike Casey is, so he's like, oh, alcohol beverage brands. And hey, I have a healthcare background. So all my network is that. Your network isn't the people you know, it's who they know. And that just blows it up. So your first goal would be to reach out to everybody in your warm network. And if you haven't been focusing on LinkedIn, oh, hold on.
Yeah, they're
Let's say
saying
somebody, sorry, Victoria, go ahead.
they're saying that it looks like the meeting didn't start yet in the chat.
Well, we'll worry about
But
that
it
later.
was
Yeah, yeah, never mind. We're past that now. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. I did hit go live. Hey, we went through 3 to 1. All right. Anyway, so they can catch the recording. We'll make sure we post the recording. So yeah, so warm connections. So if you were new to LinkedIn or you were not active on LinkedIn, then your job is to go to LinkedIn and try to find everybody you knew. So I know when I was not active on LinkedIn, I was just not paying attention. And once you connect to a few people, LinkedIn itself starts suggesting. So, oh, maybe you know this person. Now, my rule is only connect to either people you know or people who are in your client niche. So do not just willy nilly accept connections. I did that for a while. Biggest mistake. It's not about quantity; it's about quality.
mhm.
It's so important. Yeah. So man, you gotta gauge your connections. So yeah. So you now you have the connections either already, or you go back and connect to your colleagues who you hadn't connected to, and then you're reaching out to them. So Ross, we spoke about this recently. I asked you to remove that open to work thing, right?
Right.
Yeah. So Victoria and folks who would later catch it in the recording, I guess, there's a lot of people put that they put that open to work.
Mhm.
I think it's a really bad idea.
I've
Yeah. Go ahead.
I've heard a discussion. I've read a discussion on LinkedIn recently about this open to work tag, where the post was saying like it's not a good thing. It should be
Yeah.
removed. It kind of
Yeah.
devalues you as a
Yeah. Yeah.
professional. And then there were people who were like agreeing or disagreeing. And I actually wanted
Yeah.
to ask you, what do you
Yeah.
think?
Well, I think it's a really really bad idea. Yeah. Because uh because I think you want to go with an even playing field. So I was speaking to one of my friends. This was way back. I hadn't found all this knowledge and experience that I have now after years of struggle. So they were between jobs and they were looking for a job. And I said to them that, hey, I have read that networking is one of the best ways to find a job. Man, you should network. He put a hand on my shoulder and he said, Avi, you network when you have a job. When you don't have a job, you're just looking for a job. And that is a challenge with open to work because it puts you at a disadvantage. Now it makes it super awkward for you to have a conversation. You're awkward both ways, but because now you're going with the energy that um, that oh, I'm looking for a job. You're not. You're not, right? You got to get that out of your head. And the other person is also going to perceive that. Like, oh, here's Ross, here's Victoria, here's Avi looking for a job. Ah, shit, I don't think I can help them. Okay, maybe I'll talk to them, right? You don't want that, right? Yeah. So you want to connect with people because we love connecting with people, right? I like talking to people. I love talking to people. Man, how awesome would it be for Ross to kind of hang out with somebody who is let's say, yeah, I mean, so even if they're not, so yeah, so we're going with that energy. It's a level playing field. Fair enough. Does that make sense, right? So
Yeah.
we're not yeah, so we're not there looking for a job. We love meeting people. We're awesome. We're connecting with people. So now that mindset shifts things, which is important. It's not what you do, it's the energy with which you do it. That's more important. So yeah, the energy with which we don't have this desperate energy of, oh my God, can I find a client? How can I find the client fastest? No, we genuinely want to meet with people. So now you reach out to your warm network, and this is all in the inbox, no social post, nothing like that, right? And you message everybody, and obviously you tailor it based on who they are. Like, as my friend, I'll just say what's up, right? Or if it's something formal, I'll say, hey, haven't talked to you in a while, how have you been up to? Sometimes I may snoop around, look at the LinkedIn profile. That's why I love LinkedIn. And I'll see what they have been up to, and maybe I'll mention something about that. It's like, hey, so you got a new role, how's it working out? Right? So again, just a short, simple message. Please don't do what I see people doing on LinkedIn, where they do like 300, 400 words about them. It's like, hey, I'm doing this and da da da, and maybe you can help me. None of that, right? So you're just connecting to warm contacts. And don't. My rule is, don't be apologetic. There's no reason to say sorry, I haven't been in touch. Well, guess what? If you're sorry you haven't been in touch, they haven't been in touch either. So yeah, I think it's fair game, right? So yeah, no apology. You don't need that energy. Again, you're always in the right place at the right time. I'm here connecting with you because I was meant to connect with you, right? So yeah, just a quick ping, and then it kind of becomes a funnel, right? So, and it is good if you can track it. Of course, we have the tracking thing inside that. So hey, I sent a message to 10 people, 2 responded, 3 responded, something like that, right? And of course, those who respond, then maybe not immediately. Maybe, of course, you want to have an actual conversation. You want to be human. Who's like, yeah, what did they say? But at some point, maybe you do want to get them on a phone call. That's powerful, right? And then when you go on a phone call, you're listening to them, but then at some point they turn around and they say, hey, what about you? And so forth. Um, and then and then you do your pitch, which is around your niche, which is around that, hey, this is the audience, this is who I serve, and so forth, right? So the format is clear, right? So I don't mind spending 60%, 70%, sometimes 80% listening to them, especially if I got lucky enough that they are in my ideal client. Like, Victoria, if you're talking to a finance person, boy, I want them to talk, because again, it's this is research, market research too. And Ross, the same thing for you. Like, if they're in that service industry and so forth, man, I just want to listen 80% of the time. That's great. And then when it comes to you, you want it to be kind of that brief message that, hey, yep, I'm looking to help this audience. This is how I'm looking to help. And you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to pose like an expert. It's what I say, go in as an enthusiast, but don't devalue yourself as well. Sometimes people, they say that, Avi, I've had 20, I've been doing this for 20 plus years. Let's say finance, I'm closest to that. So I've been doing finance for like 20 plus years. But now I'm switching to Power BI. So I know I'm beginning. And so I know I'm going to need to take a pay cut. And I'm like, what are you doing? That's just silly, because for one, our thoughts create a reality. You keep thinking that way, I'll guarantee you'll get a pay cut, right? But you don't have to. You can just say that, hey, I've had 20 plus years of experience in finance, sales, or whatever it is, right? And now I'm doing that with Power BI. Now I'm bringing the magical Power BI. Would I get a pay cut? No, man, I would get a pay raise. All right. So yeah. So, we're not like, don't. If you don't have to pose an expert, we don't have to hold that beginner energy. It's like, oh, I haven't had any clients yet. Nah, bullshit. You're a business professional. You have tons of experience, and now you got Power BI in your corner, right? So yeah. So again, right. So listen to them for a big part. Talk about that, and then do you remember the last call to action that we have? What do you say at the end after you've talked about yourself?
After I've talked,
So you say, hey, I'm helping these companies, 100, 300 million, who are kind of stuck in this bad place. They're like, oh shit, I mean, we got customers, that's great news, but we got to support them, and support costs are through the roof. Our customers are
yes.
unhappy, we're really struggling.
You're asking for the
What's the call
sale.
to action? Yeah, that I really struggle with, because man, in the end, so again, when I talked about like, we're not doing this to get a client, that's just going to be the side effect of what we do. So I let go of that energy. So the call to action can't be that. So yeah,
Just
I mean,
talk again.
well, not really. So you do need a call to action, but it's certainly not that, hey, do you have a job for me? Can you hire
No,
me? Are you looking for this? You've heard me say this. So you say that, hey, I'm looking to help these service companies who are 100, 300 million struggling because, man, they don't have the content space. And I have helped. And there are just a few things. If you do it right, it just improves the self-solve rate and really reduces your support costs. Is there somebody you know? Those are the magic words. Because it's a softer, it's coming sideways. So it's easier for me to say that. It's very awkward. I get really awkward. Hey, do you have a job for me? I don't know how to ask that. But is there somebody you know? Now, obviously, sometimes I'm talking to my ideal client. But what this does is, even in the indirect way, it gives them a chance to raise their own hand first and say, yeah, me. Right. And right. So yeah, and go from there. So hey, we're gonna have to break into maybe a part 2, especially because we kind of messed up the live. I'll have to go figure out what happened. But hey, as I always say, right? I mean, it's always in the right place at the right time. Maybe it was meant to be this way. Maybe, who knows? Maybe we had a great conversation because I wasn't checking the comments or something. Anyway, so we're gonna do a 2-parter for this. For one, because man, I really enjoy talking to you guys. But your
Thank you so
profiles
much, Avi.
are looking good. You got a solid base, and just those 3 things. So yeah, kind of keep it easy. Focus on that, and then start messaging your warm connections. And in our program, I give you like a matrix way of figuring out who to contact first.
Mm-hmm.
And the 2 axes on that. And again, look at the lesson. It's not that complicated, but that'll give you the full thing. On one axis is the how close they are to that ideal client. Like how many people Ross knows who are in that service industry, who maybe are the content manager, right? So how close? They don't have to be that, but how close? So that's one axis. The other axis is the energy thing. Is that, man, I would love to talk to them, right? So yeah, so and sometimes it's like you could talk to somebody who's completely not in your anywhere close to your ideal client, but you're a great energy match. But then they'll carry your torch, carry your flame, and that sometimes works far better because again, our network is not who we know; it's who they know. So if you get a flame bearer, right, who carries your torch or your torch bearer, oh my God, right? So again, so it's on both axes. So that way you can kind of filter and get, okay, first I'm going to talk to these 10 people based on that selection criteria, and then go from there. So I'll check in with you guys on that. And again, the money is in the inbox. I've heard it so many times from others. It's not in social posting, not in any of that. This is the fastest path. There is value in social posting, but that's, of course, in a program, we talk about the hare and the tortoise, right? So that is a tortoise. Yes, tortoise did win the race, so we want to play that game too. But this is the hare, and that's the good part, that we don't have to choose hare or the tortoise. In the end, we want to be doing both, and yeah, but starting with the hare is good. It is fast. All right, folks. All right, so there's nobody saying goodbye to you on the line right now, but Ross, Victoria, I want to thank you for one, that this couldn't have been easy either, because in a way, it is it's being vulnerable. It's being in a place where you're saying that, hey, I don't have it all figured out, but trust me, I don't have it either. It may sound like that sometimes, but oh God, the stuff that I
High
do.
five,
Yeah.
Avi.
Yeah, man, trust me. All right, so yeah, Ross, Victoria, thank you so much, and folks, if you watched the recording all the way to the end, I thank you too. All right, all right, man. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.